Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The White House says U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs will stay in effect after an appellate court temporarily reinstated them. The U.S. Treasury sanctions a Philippine-based company accused of providing infrastructure for global investment scams. President Bongbong Marcos accepts the resignations of Solicitor General Maynardo Guevarra and CHED Chairperson Prospero De Vera. And in Canada, the province of Saskatchewan declares a state of emergency as wildfires spread across the region. The Trump administration is digging in on tariffs despite legal challenges. White House Trade Advisor Pete Navarro says that the U.S. will keep existing tariffs in place and will pursue alternative routes to enforce its trade policy if their courts rule against the administration. A U.S. appeals court temporarily reinstated President Trump's sweeping tariffs, adding pressure on manufacturers, logistics firms, and emerging markets along the supply chain. For the Philippines, which exports electronics, automotive parts, and textiles to the U.S., any further escalation could weigh on jobs, factory output, and investor confidence in the months ahead.
The tariffs remain in place. The court told us, they didn't all but tell us, they told us, go do it another way. So you can assume that even if we lose, we will do it another way. And I can assure the American people that the Trump tariff agenda is alive, well, healthy, and will be implemented to protect you, to save your jobs and your factories, and to stop shipping foreign wealth, our wealth, into foreign hands.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on Thursday that trading partners, including Japan, continue to negotiate with the U.S. in good faith. But Bessent told Fox News that trade negotiations with China have stalled. He, however, expects more talks with Chinese officials in the coming weeks.
Brett, we have not seen any of that in terms of our trading partners. They are coming to us in good faith and trying to complete the deals before the 90-day pause ends. So we've seen no change in their attitude in the past 48 hours. As a matter of fact, I have a very large Japanese delegation coming to my office first thing tomorrow morning. There are a couple of very large deals that are close. A couple of them are more complicated. And as we saw with the president's threat of 50% tariffs last Friday, the EU came to the table very quickly over the weekend. So now we've got the EU in motion also.
This heightened uncertainty in U.S.-China trade talks could rattle export-driven markets across Asia, including the Philippines, which remains deeply integrated in both supply chains. Let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight. U.S. stocks ended slightly higher on Thursday as shares of NVIDIA gained after the results of its quarterly earnings. Investors also digested a late afternoon court ruling, which reinstated the most sweeping of President Donald Trump's tariffs.
The market is still digesting kind of the back and forth on the U.S. court blocking the Trump tariffs. That's kind of been the story this entire year. Is it's been tariff ping pong, for lack of a better term, and we saw a lot of exuberance immediately after that court blocked it. Now there's news coming out today that the White House is almost certainly going to challenge this. Also, there's still going to be tariffs in place. It's not like they evaporated. So I think the market is, just consistent with, trading on tariff news is starting to ratchet that back a little bit.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.3%, the S&P 500 inched up by 0.4%, and the Nasdaq gained 0.4%. European markets ended in the red. Both London's FTSE 100 and France's CAC 40 shed 0.1%, while Germany's DAX dropped 0.4%. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is expected to cut rates by another 50 basis points this year after already slashing the benchmark rate by 25 points to jumpstart growth. ING Bank says that the deeper easing cycle is designed to shore up the economy amid a weak global backdrop and cooling inflation. The bank points to a stronger peso, lower than expected price pressures, and high real interest rates, and all signaling room to cut without destabilizing financial markets. For Philippine businesses and investors, this could mean cheaper borrowing costs and stronger domestic demand, but it also requires watching global risks that could affect capital flows and the peso. The Asian Development Bank, or ADB, says that seasonal tariff schemes are not enough to stabilize rice supplies in the Philippines, warning that structural reforms are needed to balance affordable prices with farmer welfare. The multilateral lender notes that while short-term measures have helped cool rice inflation, dropping from a nearly 25% peak to almost zero, the underlying pressures on local farmers remain. The ADB is urging the Philippine government to pursue long-term solutions such as investments in agri-infrastructure, supply chain efficiency, and farm productivity to ensure sustainable food security and price stability. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, or PEZA, is looking to boost Chinese investments in strategic sectors, including electronics, automotive, and clean energy, as the competition for manufacturing capital in Asia heats up. PEZA says interest from Chinese firms is rising, particularly in electric vehicles, renewable energy, storage technologies, and textiles. PEZA Director General Tereso Panga is joining an investment mission to Shenzhen and notes that Chinese inflows outpaced Japanese investments in the first 4 months of the year. The push comes as the Philippines tries to position itself as a competitive manufacturing hub amid regional supply chain realignments. As PEZA pursues new energy-focused investments, fresh data reveals that fewer Filipino households are using renewable energy sources in their daily lives. Data from the 2023 Household Energy Consumption Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority shows that 60.7% of homes use renewable energy. This is lower than 80.4% recorded in 2011. Renewable energy sources include firewood, charcoal, biogas, solar, wind, and hydro energy. Among households using renewable energy for household consumption, firewood was the most commonly used renewable energy source in both 2011 and in 2023. Electricity use, meanwhile, increased to 94.8% in 2023 from 87.2% in 2011. U.S. authorities are cracking down on a Philippine-based firm allegedly involved in a global cybercrime network. U.S. Treasury officials say they are taking action against Funnel Technology Incorporated, as it's being accused of buying internet protocol addresses in bulk from other service providers and reselling them to cyber criminals. An alleged administrator of Funnel, Chinese national Liu Lizi, was also placed under sanctions. Reuters tried to locate Funnel in the Philippines' corporate registry to no avail. Virtual currency investment scams work by convincing people to put their money into fraudulent cryptocurrency schemes. Pig butchering scams, which originated in China, now target people worldwide. Philippine banks are increasing their exposure to green finance, with BPI reporting strong growth in sustainability-linked loans and climate-focused investments. Sujin Kim has the details.
In the face of a global ESG shift, Philippine banks are taking stronger strides to embrace green finance. Leading the charge is the Bank of the Philippine Islands, which is now on track to reach and possibly surpass its 1 trillion peso target for sustainability-linked loans well before its 2026 deadline.
To be honest, I think that there's a good chance that we can exceed that 1 trillion. Our goal is that at least 50% of our book should be sustainability linked. 900 billion out of 2.3 trillion is not 50%, so there's still a bit of a ways to go.
Under its Sustainable Development Finance Program, BPI has disbursed over 322 billion pesos across 485 projects, ranging from renewable energy to energy efficiency and pollution control. It is also the first bank in the world to launch an energy transition financing facility designed to support the early retirement of coal plants in exchange for new renewable energy capacity. This is part of a time-bound coal phase-out policy which aims to fully exit coal exposure by 2032. As part of its operational transformation, 70 of BPI's branches now run on 100% renewable energy through its retail aggregation program. On the retail front, BPI has rolled out its green solutions portfolio, including solar mortgages, electric vehicle loans, and eco-friendly home financing. The bank expects its EV loan portfolio to grow, though current levels remain small.
EVs, I think, will accelerate, but if you look at lending to EVs, it's quite small, right? Growth in EVs has been good, especially in the Metro Manila area. What I'd like to see is that even outside the Metro Manila area, we start to see growth in EVs as well.
BPI is also developing a blue bond framework to support projects in water treatment and marine conservation ahead of its planned ESG-themed bond issuance.
I think we should be able to finalize that framework. Our goal is to finalize that framework within the year.
Meanwhile, BPI has mandated that at least 10% of employee performance metrics across its over 20,000 staff be directly linked to sustainability initiatives. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Let's check on Asian markets this Friday morning. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is sharply lower, down by 1.3%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index in the red by as much as well, down by 1.4%. Hong Kong's Shanghai Index down by 0.5%, and Singapore's Straits Times Index lower by 0.4%. Here at home, the PSE Index slipped Thursday as investors booked profits ahead of the weekend amid caution over weak local cues and global trade uncertainty. The main gauge lost 0.2% to close at 64.13. Analysts say investors are seen to stay cautious ahead of fresh data and global trade developments, with the PSEI still struggling to hold above 6,400. Over the near term, analysts expect to see sideways movement with possibly a slight downward bias. Now, taking a look at trading today, as of 10:17 this morning, the main gauge is in the red, up by 0.1% to 64.21, bucking the downtrend in the region. All shares index up slightly as well, up by 0.1% to 37.58. As for the sub-indices, we're looking at a mixed picture. The financials, industrial, services, and mining and oil counters are in the green, whereas the property and holding firms are trading to the downside. Sharp gains in the mining and oil counter there to be noted, up by almost 3% in early trade. Now, at the currency market, the peso opened stronger at 55.62, the dollar appreciating from its previous close of 55.73. Despite a weak start, emerging market currencies, including the Philippine peso, are expected to end 2025 on a stronger note, offering relief for investors and policymakers alike. U.S.-based think tank BMI projects these currencies could recover slightly by about 0.4% against the dollar following last year's sharp slide driven by global volatility. In the Philippines, cooling inflation, which hit just 1.4% in April, is helping to stabilize the peso. Year-to-date inflation now averages 2%, comfortably within the central bank's 2 to 4% target range. Experts say a weaker dollar could ease debt repayment burdens for the Philippines and improve investor sentiment in local markets, a key signal for business leaders planning long-term strategy and currency hedging. Two more cabinet officials are removed from their posts as part of President Marcos's ongoing government reset. Solicitor General Maynardo Guevarra and CHED Chairperson Prospero De Vera are the latest to have their courtesy resignations accepted. Both were key figures during the Duterte administration. Guevarra served as Justice Secretary, while De Vera was appointed to CHED under Duterte's term. Critics say the reset appears to be targeting former Duterte-era appointees. But Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin maintains that this is not a purge, but a strategic move to improve public service.
This is not a purge, let me remind you of that. This effort is the President's commitment to a government that works fast, delivers results, and meets the expectations of the Filipino people.
Charles, imposible 24. UP Law Dean Darlene Bernabe is sworn in as the new Solicitor General, replacing Maynardo Guevarra.
As the President himself stated, when we see shortfalls in performance, I don't leave it at that. I don't do things pang-optics.
In a message to the Bilyonaryo news channel, Guevarra says he respects the president's decision and is leaving government service with a great feeling of fulfillment. Berberabe, his successor, previously served as CEO of the Pag-ibig Fund under the Aquino administration and sits on the board of SM Prime. She graduated summa cum laude and valedictorian from UP's College of Social Sciences and Philosophy in 1989 and was salutatorian of the UP Law Class of 1999. To sports fans, she's also known as the former wife of PBA legend Samboy Lim and mother of SEA Games gold medalist karateka Jaime Lim. A new player in the luxury vehicle market has arrived, and it's Chinese. AutoHub Group, led by businessman Willie Titen, has launched Zeekr, a high-end electric multi-purpose vehicle designed to compete with established luxury brands. With more Chinese automakers targeting the Philippine market, industry watchers say the entry of Zeekr could signal tighter competition ahead, particularly in the EV and premium MPV segments. Here's G. Baroga with the details.
The AutoHub Group, led by Willie Titen, is bringing in a new player to the country's luxury EV segment. Say hello to Zeekr, officially relaunched in the Philippines with Willie's son Wayne Titen at the helm. And the crown jewel of the brand is the Zeekr 009, a sleek, futuristic MPV that's more than just an electric people mover. It's being positioned as Zeekr's halo car and a direct rival to the Toyota Alphard. Designed to turn heads and packed with next-level features, the Zeekr 009 aims to reset expectations for what a luxury van can be.
This will surpass all competitions, in my opinion. How can you be cheaper than an Alphard and have way more spec?
While Toyota still dominates the AUV and MPV space, AutoHub believes Zeekr is set to disrupt the market, and Wayne is not pulling any punches.
If you're planning to buy an Alphard, take a look at this car first. I guarantee that you will shift. There's no way you won't shift. I don't see how you're not gonna shift. Even an LM.
So we're here inside the all-new Zeekr 009. This is a luxury MPV. It's pure electric and it comes with 7-seater or 6-seater options. As you can see, it's very spacious but also it's very luxurious. The seats can be adjusted based on how you like it, giving you that comfortable ride whenever you're aboard the 009.
And what about range anxiety? Not here, says the man behind AutoHub Empire.
This is 702 kilometers, so wala nang problema sa range. Wag mo lang hintay maubos yung baterya bago mo i-charge. You charge it almost every time you use it, then you'll always have full battery. So, 700 kilometers is really, really far.
Targeted at CEOs, celebrities, politicians, and upscale families, the Zeekr 009 blends prestige with sustainability. The 7-seater starts at 4.2 million pesos, while the 6-seater version is priced at 4.4 million pesos. Whether it's a family van or a mobile executive lounge, the Zeekr 009 is ready to shake up the luxury market. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
The MMDA is rolling out a new online tool to help motorists check for violations under the No Contact Apprehension policy. Set to launch next month, the web-based violation checker will let registered vehicle owners track infractions using a one-time password, even if they own multiple vehicles. The agency says that the goal is to give drivers advance notice so they won't be caught off guard if penalties are issued. The MMDA also reminded the public that trying to dodge violations through tactics like window hours won't work and could still get them flagged.
Marami kaming na-monitor sa CCTV na nilagyan ng electrical tape, nilagyan ng masking tape. So we admire the Filipino ingenuity. Pero I am warning them na ang penalty for this is 5,000. Baka po magulat sila. I think everybody must also give their share at magsakripisyo during the EDSA rehab, during the EDSA rebuild na 18 to 24 months. Kasi kung everybody will just, ask for exemption, sasabihin, ito lang ang araw na hindi ko magagamit. We can make use of the window hour.
We're taking a short break. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back. The Bureau of Customs seizes over 90 million pesos worth of smuggled agricultural goods in a move seen as crucial to protecting local industries and stabilizing supply chains. The raid at the Port of Manila uncovered over 2,000 sacks of unauthorized sugar worth 9 million pesos and cigarettes misdeclared as fabric valued at 81 million pesos. These goods entered without proper clearances, prompting authorities to issue seizure orders. The joint operation involved the Department of Agriculture, Sugar Regulatory Administration, and Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. For the Philippine business sector, the crackdown is a positive signal as it aims to level the playing field for legitimate importers and local producers amid ongoing pressure from illicit trade, inflation, and supply chain disruptions. BOC Commissioner Bienvenido Rubio says this is part of a broader effort to uphold food security and public health while strengthening investor confidence in trade enforcement. The Bureau of Customs in Davao turns over nearly 3,000 abandoned balikbayan boxes to the Department of Migrant Workers, spotlighting ongoing risks in the logistics and freight forwarding industry. The boxes, originally sent home by overseas Filipino workers, were left unclaimed after being mishandled by non-compliant freight forwarders. The move to recover and redistribute them to their intended recipients comes amid growing pressure to safeguard the supply chains that support migrant workers and their families. This underscores the need for stronger enforcement and regulation in the third-party logistics sector, a vital link in the Philippines' remittance-driven economy. The turnover also ties into President Marcos's push for more responsive and accountable government service delivery. The Sugar Regulatory Administration is racing to contain a pest outbreak that could threaten output, profits, and price stability in one of the country's most critical agricultural sectors. Red-striped soft-scale insects have infested over 180 hectares of sugarcane farms in Negros Occidental, with severe damage already reported in several areas. The SRA warns that the pest could cut sugar content in crops by as much as 50% if left unchecked. Hard-hit areas include Bago City, Murcia, and Victoria City, where emergency spraying and containment efforts are now underway. Officials say full containment may only be possible after harvest season as logistics, including truck and labor movement, continue to slow down the response. On another front, the Supreme Court upholds the legality of a 65 billion peso deal to extend LRT Line 1 all the way to Cavite, clearing a major legal hurdle for one of the country's biggest public-private partnerships in the transport infrastructure space. In a 75-page decision, the High Court en banc dismissed petitions claiming the concession agreement with Light Rail Manila Corporation was unconstitutional and unfair to workers and commuters. The SC ruled that the deal doesn't violate due process, employees' rights, or require a congressional franchise, affirming that the Transport Department has the authority to authorize public rail services. The project, signed in 2014, covers the operations, maintenance, and extension of LRT-1 from Baclaran to Bacoor, a move expected to boost connectivity, lower transport costs, and drive growth in the southern metro corridor. Now, labor crackdown at snack maker WL Foods is raising fresh questions on compliance and workplace standards across the manufacturing sector. The Department of Labor and Employment, along with Senator Raffy Tulfo, found that workers at the Valenzuela-based company were paid well below the legal daily minimum despite working 12-hour shifts. Some workers were receiving as little as 400 pesos a day under a Pacquiaoan or piece rate system that Dole says was not properly authorized. The case highlights gaps in enforcement and could spur greater scrutiny of compensation practices in supply chains, particularly for consumer goods firms. WL Foods, which makes Muncher, Chippy, and Yahoo biscuits, has been ordered to pay back wages and halt the pay system pending further approval. Business groups and employers are urged to review compliance measures as regulators signal tougher actions ahead to ensure fair labor practices. Expelled congressman and fugitive Arnolfo Teves is now back in Philippine custody after nearly 2 years of eluding authorities in Timor-Leste. He had an emotional reunion with his mother. They have not seen each other for the past 2 years. Teves was flown home by the Philippine Air Force following an immediate deportation order by Timorese officials. He is the prime suspect in the assassination of former Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo, a high-profile political killing that sparked national outrage and raised concerns over impunity in local politics. The case has put the spotlight on governance and rule of law, critical issues for business leaders tracking political risk and security in the provinces. Representative-elect Janice Degamo, the widow of the late governor, called Teves' return a sign that justice may finally be within reach. Teves' legal team insists that his arrest was illegal, claiming he was simply taking a rest in Timor-Leste.
Yung mga miyembro ng legal team ni Congressman Teves will always plan for any contingency. Noon po, we are acting because of the situation that he is in Timor-Leste and outside of the jurisdiction of Philippine courts. Ngunit hindi po nangangahulugan doon na kami po ay nagpapahinga lamang dito.
We're taking a quick break. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back. Israel approves a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal for Gaza, opening the door to talks with Hamas. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt confirmed the development, adding that President Donald Trump and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff formally handed the proposal to Hamas after Israel's approval. The plan includes the release of 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 others, along with a proposed 60-day truce.
I can confirm that Special Envoy Witkoff and the president submitted a ceasefire proposal to Hamas that Israel backed and supported. Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning. I won't comment further as we are in the midst of this right now.
So to be clear, you don't know if Hamas has accepted it yet?
Not to my knowledge, but certainly if that becomes the case and this ceasefire goes into effect, you'll hear it directly from myself, the president, or Special Envoy Witkoff.
CNN reports that Hamas is open to the exchange and temporary ceasefire, but is seeking stronger U.S. commitment to pursue a permanent peace deal. A major dealer of Chinese EV giant BYD shuts down operations in Shandong, a coastal province in eastern China, sparking fresh questions about sustainability in the world's biggest electric vehicle market. Chinese media reports at least 20 stores run by Qiangcheng Holdings have closed across Shandong. The company, one of BYD's largest retail partners in the region, is reportedly facing financial troubles after an aggressive expansion push. While BYD has yet to issue an official statement, an unnamed public relations representative attributed the crisis to Qiangcheng's overextension. Still on BYD, as the Chinese EV giant grapples with troubles at home, it's making big strides overseas. BYD's massive cargo ship completes its maiden voyage to Brazil, carrying over 7,000 electric vehicles. The delivery marks the largest single shipment of vehicles in Brazil's history and signals BYD's expansion into new markets amid intense competition at home. The vehicles are being unloaded around the clock at Itajaí port, which Brazilian officials hoped to revive as a major logistics hub. The development underscores BYD's growing global footprint and raises the stakes for other countries, including the Philippines, as China's EV makers turn to exports to sustain their growth. Elsewhere in Canada, the province of Saskatchewan declares a state of emergency as wildfires surge across the region. Over 200 wildfires have been recorded this spring, with 17 still active, forcing evacuations at least 15 communities. Satellite images from Tuesday show massive plumes of smoke covering vast areas. Premier Scott Moe says conditions are worsening and warns that rain is urgently needed to avert a full-blown disaster. Canada's increasingly severe fire seasons have wide implications, from carbon emissions to agricultural impacts, and underscore the growing risk climate events pose to global supply chains and food security. Doctors in Buenos Aires take to the streets demanding better pay and working conditions amid ongoing healthcare budget cuts. Thousands of medical workers marched to Argentina's health ministry on Thursday, calling attention to what they call unsustainable workloads and low wages. First-year residents earn just $673 a month, despite working up to 70 hours per week. The protest comes amid wider public discontent over austerity measures under President Javier Milei, including deep cuts to social and health services. Argentina's healthcare unrest highlights the risks of sharp fiscal tightening, a debate echoed in other emerging markets, including the Philippines, as governments balance budget discipline with essential public services. Now, Dior's creative chief for women's collection is stepping down, marking a major shift in the luxury fashion landscape. Maria Grazia Curie is exiting the French fashion house after 9 years at the helm. She says she's immensely proud of her work and the time she spent at Dior. Dior Couture's CEO thanked her for writing a key chapter in the brand's history and driving its global growth. Fashion insiders say the move could pave the way for Jonathan Anderson to take over, signaling a potential creative shakeup across luxury labels. For Philippine retailers and fashion distributors, this could set new trends in design, branding, and consumer demand. But a Dior spokesperson declined to comment on any succession plans. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel, and have a good weekend.